So yeah, hi guys.
Hello, I have tea. I forgot I had tea. I just saw it.
Tea and coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Today we're gonna be doing the lost episode, Jurassic Park.
Finally, dude.
Yes. Originally
We're gonna do it again. This is version 2.
version 2.0, yes. Originally this was gonna actually be our very first episode.
Initially, it was our launching episode.
It was originally going to be our launching episode, and then we shot the entire thing, had a full, very good discussion for you guys. We took the card out to transfer the footage, and
It corrupted.
all the footage was gone, like corrupted, gone. And then we were like, okay, don't take the card out of the camera before you transfer the footage.
Mhm.
Use software.
That's what made me buy that cable, so we wouldn't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually kind of a blessing in disguise for me, because this is my favorite film of all time.
Yeah, it is your favorite film.
Jurassic Park. And the reason I say it may have been a blessing in disguise is now that we've recorded a few episodes, we're not as all over the place and scattered. We have a bit more of a format and a flow.
We have a bit more of a format and a flow.
Which I'm glad for, because obviously, you know, we'll have a lot more concise and better structure for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I'm glad about.
Yeah, I'm glad about it too. So, yeah, just to give some stats, this movie was obviously directed by Steven Spielberg, the legend.
Oh yeah, this was Christopher Nolan when he was like 5. This was
Yeah.
his first.
yeah, exactly. Christopher Nolan's first film. Yeah. But yeah, no, great movie, written by Michael Crichton, Crichton.
I think you say it as Crichton, but I really don't want to.
Yeah, I don't
because
wanna-
I know
don't
there's a
wanna butcher
CH in there.
But yeah, he worked on the original novel, and he also helped with the screenplay. And then David,
I'm trying
along with David Kopp, who worked on they both worked on
the script.
Script.
Oh.
Music, obviously, John Williams.
Yeah, you really have a thing for John Williams' music, even though his music is very iconic to this film.
He's actually not he's not my favorite film composer ever, but I mean his music is legendary.
It's legendary.
I mean, when people think of film composers, John Williams is always one of the ones that comes to mind first.
Yeah, well, it is iconic, the soundtrack for Jurassic Park.
Then we have Dean Cundy, who worked on
DOP.
DOP, director of photography.
I told you yesterday, he did the same DOP work for Back to the Future.
Oh yeah,
which
very
is cool.
And then the editing was by Michael Kahn.
Michael Kahn.
So yeah.
I always want to say Michael Caine.
Yeah, Michael Caine. So yeah, why didn't you relish us with your first experience of this film?
Oof. I first watched Jurassic Park. I think I watched it maybe 5 or 6 different times before I actually finished it, because I was very young. I had a VHS tape edition of Jurassic Park, and it was given away by mistake, and I miss it. And I always used to get freaked out by the T-Rex paddock. That scene, I always used to turn it off there, and I was like, nope. I used to come home after school. We usually watch something every night, but I would save it for like Fridays, and after my episode of Scooby-Doo, I would be like, all right, now I'm gonna watch Jurassic Park with the family, and they're like, you sure? You know, this movie's it's a bit much for you. Because I always used to get freaked out. And I was like, no, this time I'm going to sit through it. And I never did. And that was most of my exposure to the film. I was always drawn to it and I always loved it. But I was always too scared to finish it. But eventually, as I got older, I sat down and I finished it. And I'm ever so glad I did.
Yeah.
And that's why it deserves a slot on
your poster wall.
On my poster wall.
Yeah, definitely. I think Jurassic Park was part of my VHS playlist that I had back as a kid.
This infamous playlist.
Yeah, the infamous playlist that I had. You know, great classics like RoboCop 3, Terminator 2.
There you go. Aliens.
Jurassic Park. No. Alien and Aliens wasn't on my original playlist. The thing is that I only watched much later when I was older, and my parents had cable TV again.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I thought Aliens, the second one, was on that list. But
No. I watched my first watch through of the Alien movies was watching my first. We already mentioned that my first exposure was Alien versus Predator, the first one, and then later I marathon through the other ones. But I started with Aliens first. But but so getting back to Jurassic Park, and no, this is just a classic. I don't think anybody will say that this is a bad movie.
I don't think so. I mean, there will be that weird corner of the internet that's like, it's a conspiracy, man. This is what happened.
Yeah.
So Jurassic Park is a documentary to some people.
Yeah. A series that it's still going strong with the Jurassic World series now.
Partly due to nostalgia, partly branching off into new territories where the dinosaurs are actually on the mainland.
Yeah.
And causing all kinds of chaos with the common folk.
It'll be interesting to see how they do that in Dominion.
I look forward to Dominion. It was supposed to be out by now, but of course, unspecified virus.
And so we'll cut the bit out, but unspecified virus.
Yeah, it's
basically led to
its delay. So
otherwise pretty good overall. So I think we can start with the story. So play by play, basically, like we have our rich extravagant CEO John Hammond, who has figured out how to clone and create dinosaurs, and obviously he needs to get other experts to come in and actually give outside opinions, as he puts it, and we get like Ian Malcolm, we get
Dr. Sattler and Dr. Grant.
Dr. Sattler and Dr. Grant. And just a really great cast of characters overall.
And I suppose I could address this when we talk about what we take away from the film, but the opening scene as well. The iconic opening shooter scene. Shooter. My mom is forever ruined that scene for me. She's made it such a meme.
And the camera like zooms in on his mouth.
Yeah. And you see the guy's hand like gradually slip through.
I actually don't really remember that scene that much. I think that scene always kind of evaded my mind. It was only when I watched it recently, I was like, oh yeah, there's actually there's this intro scene.
I used to get jumpy from that scene alone. I don't know why. I think it's because like the tree moves and it's like a low angle shot, so everyone looks up and I'm like, yo, this Rex is here already. Yeah. In the meantime, it's just the raptors. But it's I'll add to it later on. But sorry, continue.
Yeah, so we get to our thing. John Hammond has that interesting bit where he says as a lawyer, I brought what did he say? He said, I brought two scientists, you brought a rock star or like a celebrity or something like that.
I love Ian Malcolm's character.
No, Ian Malcolm is amazing in this movie. I love him. He's like really good.
I'm glad he's in the newer ones as well. Not just for like nostalgia, but he's not a main character just there. He actually has a bit of a point, a little bit. But I'll build on it later.
Yeah. So and then basically they come to Jurassic Park, which is meant to just be like a sort of like a theme park where obviously now we have real dinosaurs, and otherwise I mean the thing is with Jurassic Park, everyone knows the plot of Jurassic Park, so it doesn't really feel like doing a play by play. Maybe just talk about the moments that we really enjoy and everything like that. I think the first really great. I do like the beginning with Dr. Grant, where he's studying that. They have that great 90s technology computer where they're busy scanning that thing, and then the kid says, what's so great about dinosaurs? Or he says something like that. Then he gives him this whole lecture. That was very funny.
He said. It's a 6-foot turkey. It doesn't even look scary.
It's like a 6-foot turkey. It doesn't even look scary.
That Fortnite kid.
Yeah, that's totally a kid who, if you lived today, you'd be playing Fortnite.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah. Where's my credit card, Mom? Where's the credit card, Mom? I want to buy some skins. Buy some V-Bucks.
V-Bucks, yeah. And that's also a nice, subtle introduction to Dr. Alan Grant, and his story arc is learning to become
a parent figure,
exactly. I was going to say a father figure, but he's not quite. He just has to be more accepting of the concept of children.
Yeah.
Because in that initial setup with that Fortnite kid...
he has that whole lecture of him, and then later he's saying to Dr. Sadler, saying they smell...
Yeah, do you want one of those?
You want one of those? They smell, they're expensive.
He really doesn't like children, and he's forced to look after the 2 grandchildren that he gets stuck with.
Yeah, he gets stuck with them, and then even like that beginning scene where they go into where they're getting ready to get into those jeeps, and then like that one kid is like harassing him and like talking to him about his book and everything. And he's like, which car were you planning on going into? Whichever one you were in.
Whichever one you were in.
Yeah. And then like later when they finally stop and get out the cars, he like comes back to him and like picks up where he
he just continues the conversation.
Yeah.
So from the exact word, actually, it's cool. Like the kids are a bit oblivious to the fact that he doesn't really want to, interact with them, but it's necessary that he learns to tolerate and then ultimately accept them.
Yeah, no, it's just a great story arc for Dr. Grant and everything. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what they could do for him otherwise. If he was a different character and there were no kids involved for his fatherly story arc, I don't know what else they could replace that story arc with, other than maybe he's like a bit of a narcissist or a dick. And
that's kind of Ian Malcolm's job.
Yeah, and he has to be a bit humiliated. I don't know. I think Dr. Malcolm was proved right.
Well, no, he was right and everything, but he's kind of he plays that. Well, not like I wouldn't say narcissistic. He's that sarcastic character.
Yeah,
sarcastic character and a very critical character.
He is that's the word I was thinking. It was critical. He's very.
It's
straightforward. He'll tell you.
I actually thought of a very funny funny link there. Like whenever we watch and sit down to do a movie, you're the John Hammond character who's like just amazed by everything. And I'm the Ian Malcolm who's like cynical and like critical of everything.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I'm just chilled.
Yeah. But no, it's a good trait to have. I just thought that was a very funny...
It is, it's a good observation.
I just thought of that observation now and I thought it'd be a fun little thing to mention. But...
well, it does have some truth to it. Alright, so you're Dr. Malcolm from now on.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of Dr. Malcolm, I just really love that. I really love that speech he gives where he sort of says you guys are like, you're acting like a kid who's just found his dad's gun in terms of the power and everything. And when he gives the whole speech about, when he talks about how, your scientists thought all about how they could do it, but they never thought about if they should do it.
Exactly, because they didn't earn it.
They didn't earn the power. They didn't earn the knowledge for themselves. Yeah,
it's a powerful speech. That's why I like Ian Malcolm as a character across cinema. He's not afraid to ask questions that go against the plot directly.
Yeah, and even though he's technically a side character in this one, you kind of don't really mind when in the sequel he's the main character of the sequel because he's a good character to kind of spin off of.
He is. He has that charisma and like screen presence.
I think Jurassic Park, if you sort of want to relate it to video games, where like the Resident Evil series of games, where each game they have obviously like a set of characters that all the games are based on, but they often go through the list and they'll swap out characters per game. Like the beginning, it's like the first game it's Chris and Jill, then the next one it's Leon and Claire, and then they keep going and going, and then they keep swapping out the characters as they go. That's kind of how the Jurassic Park series is basically, because it's Dr. Grant who's obviously the main character in the first one. Then it's Ian Malcolm, then it's Dr. Grant again, and then obviously we get our Jurassic World cast for the Jurassic World films
with Chris Pratt. And I forget her name. I know her name, but it's not coming to mind. Very cool name. But I know what you're talking about.
The actress name, Bryce Dallas Howard.
There we go. I knew it was 3 words. Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
Cool.
But so otherwise, just the characters are all just really good. Just very interesting. I think also what we did talk about in our original recording of this episode was how they used, how they blended animatronics and CGI so well.
Can I, of course, you can bring up some scenes if you want to.
Yeah.
If you had a specific example you wanted to talk about.
Well, I guess the one specific example was the scene where they first introduced the T-Rex, the scene that you were scared of when you were a kid. But yeah, basically that was an animatronic, but obviously for some of the movement they had to add in CGI. And this was one of the first, obviously not the first film, but this was one of the first really big blockbuster films that really integrated CGI and really
meshed the two
together. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a very good use of practical and CGI. Make them both work in hand. Don't just rely on CGI or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, because I think back then they primarily used animatronics and then puppets and such. But
and then for certain movements or whatever, they had to obviously use CGI.
So instead, the CGI carried the limitations of the technology rather than just outright doing everything through CGI.
Yeah,
which is a lot better, I feel, for everyone involved. And also, It's sort of like the same concept of today, where like, how do I word it? Let me piss off an entire population here. It's basically like auto-tune that used to fix errors, but now it carries a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's lost its way, unfortunately. But I think practical effects are useful still.
Yeah,
And they should like be incorporated as much as possible.
Yeah, they should be incorporated as much as possible. And yeah, that little bit of trivia where like where the dinosaur's head was coming down in the truck, and like the kids were like, there's that glass window that's like basically in between them and the dinosaur, and them freaking out. That's actually the animatronic dinosaur actually. There was actually a glitch with the animatronic, and the animatronic was kind of freaking out, and it was like kind of going down on them, and they were having problems with it. And so when the kids are screaming, that it's genuine because they're actually legit scared. They're like, "Oh my god, this thing's gonna eat us."
That's cool. I didn't know that. Actually, you did mention it, but I completely forgot it. I wanted to say another bit of interesting trivia while we're on the CGI and animatronic front. That scene where they first arrive at the visitor center and they're going up the stairs.
Yeah.
And then someone says, "Oh, so what do you think?" And then Dr. Ellen Grant is like, "I think we're out of a job." And Ian Malcolm is like, "Don't you mean extinct?" That scene or that bit of dialogue is actually from the animatronic guys. They said that when they saw the CGI for the T-Rex, they're like, "So what do you think?" They said, "I think we're out of a job."
And they're right. They are basically out of a job now.
Yeah. And I thought that was such a cool bit of trivia. And even Spielberg said that's cool. It's like in concept. So he threw it in the script. I was like, nice.
Yeah.
That's a cool bit of trivia.
That is actually
Did you not know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, no, that's a fact. It's quite cool.
That is very cool, actually, and very meta.
It is, right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean this film pretty much is a classic. I mean, I'm gonna be saying that a lot throughout this podcast episode.
Well, it's true, isn't it?
It's true, isn't it? Yeah, like think of something original, guys. Like Jurassic Park, a classic. Oh, like everybody's already said that.
No, I'm pretty sure that's what they put on the DVD cover of the newer remakes.
Yeah.
The new re-releases of the covers. It just said it's just a classic.
Yeah. They always have some cheesy line like that, but yeah, no, pretty good. And so and I think also what I like about this movie is that it's sort of the one main theme of it is that it's sort of like embracing science and how we can create these amazing things. It really does toe the line between. It really does balance it very well. Where it goes like science is wonderful and it can create these wonderful things, but there's also a lot of horror and a lot of problem. There's a lot of danger with how far we go and how far we create, because these dinosaurs, there's a lot of, because like it's a beautiful mix, because like there's some scenes that are like so beautiful, like when they first see the dinosaurs, that scene's very beautiful, like the end shot with those those. Okay, I can't remember what they're called, the flying dinosaurs.
Oh, pteranodons.
The pteranodons, when they're flying in the sunset, and it's like very beautiful and everything.
I think those are pelicans in the final scene.
Nah.
They're not extinct. They didn't have pteranodons, I don't think, in the first film. I know they didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they made them and they were just somewhere else.
Yeah, but they have a lot of beautiful shots like that where they sort of make the dinosaurs look very majestic and very beautiful, but then there's also like the scene like the beginning with like shooter, because it's actually scary.
Someone, a review I once watched for Jurassic Park said that, or maybe read, it said Jurassic Park is a horror movie disguised as an adventure.
It is, because it really does toe that line between adventure and horror.
It does, and I think that's a brilliant way of summing it up, because it is a very majestic and stunning film in certain aspects, but especially for if you're the first time viewer, it can scare you.
Yeah.
I know the Rex primarily because it just outsizes everyone. But also the raptors.
The raptors are creepy.
The raptors are creepy in their own way.
Especially when they figure out how to open doors.
Exactly, because of their intelligence, but also because there's a few of them.
Yeah.
So you're always uncertain, like, okay, there's one over there, but where are the others?
Where are the other two?
Exactly. That's it's two different branching concepts of scared and fear.
Mm.
It's like the big and obvious, and then the more subtle and intricate
Yeah.
between Raptor and Rex, which is awesome. Sorry, my eye is very sore.
But yeah, no, that's a very cool theme. And then, just the horror and the scenes are very good. What else to really talk about? I guess also one thing I really enjoy is the debate they have at the dinner table. That debate's very good.
About if they should or not.
Yeah.
There's actually, just to build on that scene, there's a book that I haven't read yet, but I want to, where a whole group of philosophers, they came together and they reviewed Jurassic Park and the morality of playing God, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's called, the book is really simple title, Philosophy in Jurassic Park. And I haven't read that book yet, but I want to buy it.
Yeah.
So I love this movie. And I'm curious to see what actual philosophers have to say about playing God, because that's what they do in this film. And then suddenly, your creation gets out, and Frankenstein's monster style, it causes havoc.
And that leads to one of my favorite arcs with John. One of my favorite arcs in this film with John Hammond, where he says he always goes on about how spared no expense. He likes to throw that line out a lot. And then when he has that sort of that conversation toward in the second half with Dr. Sadler, and then she says because he's trying to decide, he's trying to talk about how they're going to do better next time, and she just says that no, look, your creations have gone thing, and now our loved ones are out there, and what's most important is getting them there. And then when she finally, and she they have this whole back and forth, and when she finally tries some of the ice cream, she says it's very good. And then he has sort of this low, very low thing of spared no expense.
I like that. It's instead of saying it in his usual upbeat manner,
he says it in a very low type of manner.
And it's interesting to think about how he's always, throughout the film, and the lawyer character is always concerned about safety.
The blood-sucking lawyer?
Yes. He's always concerned about people's safety and if the dinosaurs can get out and what happens if they do and this and that. And then he always has he's always argued no, he's got it covered, don't worry. But then in that scene, when he talks about his flea circus and how it was an illusion to him.
And he wanted to create something that wasn't an illusion.
Exactly. I always wonder if that goal of his sort of sidelined safety and priority.
Well, the thing is, he got obsessed with his vision.
And I think he did sideline it a little bit. I mean, there is still a lot of safety, contingencies set.
Well, the problem also, a lot of the contingencies don't go into effect because the problem is Ned switched off all the power.
Exactly.
So they don't have power.
Had load shedding.
Yeah, they had load shedding.
But I like to think that maybe he was a bit blinded by his vision, because he's throughout the film, when everything goes wrong, he still argues, he still tries to defend the park.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And of course, the sabotage from Ned, not Ned, Dennis Nedry, there we go.
Dennis Nedry, sorry, Dennis Nedry. Oh, yeah, sorry, it's Dennis, yeah. Dennis.
Yeah, they always just call him Nedry. So his sabotage really didn't help Hammond's case when trying to defend it.
Yeah. Because
everything was going wrong, but it went wrong more so because of Dennis's sabotage.
Yeah.
And his untimely death. His death in the book is much worse.
Really?
Yeah, I'll explain it, but I'm worried about the camera fracking, so we may as well continue. But when we get there, because I know I want to talk about that scene.
Yeah, you want to talk about Dennis. So, yeah, Dennis, the comedic antagonist of this film. Oh my gosh, yeah. I love that actor. That actor's always so funny in all the movies that he's in. But I love the bit where he's just at the beginning when he meets with his contact, and then his contact says something he's trying to be conspicuous. It's like hey, look, this guy's trying to be. Or I can't remember the exact line, but he says hey, look at this guy. He says, see, nobody cares.
Yeah, the guy says he waves at him. He's like, hey, Dotson, and then he's like, you shouldn't say my name. And he's like, Dotson, we got Dotson.
Yeah. And he's like, see, nobody cares.
Nobody cares. And his motivations were money.
Basically money.
Basically. Which, I mean, back then it was okay. there's nothing wrong because it was sort of it wasn't new, but
It was sort of a.
he was not a shallow character.
He wasn't a shallow character. You could tell like he was kind of desperate, especially when he's driving. When he does shut off the power and he gets the thing, like he's so desperate to get them to that ship and everything like that.
But remember, this plays into the film theory concept we learnt about of greed.
Yeah.
And how greed usually sets the monster loose, and only if you recognize your own sin and you rectify it, then you're spared. But he is driven by cash, and he actually gets killed because of his greed.
Yeah.
Which is actually, it ties into it so nicely.
Yeah, it does.
It's like
quite nicely.
I need to review this film more. I need to do a whole in-depth analysis.
In-depth, and now we can do that as a side episode.
Yeah, I like Jurassic Park Extended Edition.
Extended Edition, yeah.
So basically, they're continuing from the story. They've arrived at Jurassic Park, and they're quickly sent on a tour of the park because that's what they're there for. They're to greenlight it, basically.
Greenlight it, give it a standing ovation.
Standing ovation. I was going to say they sign off on it, but standing ovation can work. I don't know, those fences to me, they aren't the greatest looking things, I'll be honest. The Dilophosaurus one, because the Dilo is a tiny little thing. He's not tiny, but those gaps, you could just go through those gaps.
Yeah, it does seem sort
of... It's a little bit weird, but I let it slide. Especially because by that point, we don't know what a Dilophosaurus even looks like. Yeah,
we only see it at the end.
Which is cool. So they go around the park, nothing much happens, and then there's a storm warning, which the storm doesn't actually change course, and their tour is cut short. So when does the power trip? That's when Nedry shuts everything down.
When Nedry shuts everything down, that's when the power starts to cut.
Exactly. So systems freak out, and ultimately the enclosure defenses go down, and the dinosaurs, specifically the Rex, because there's only a few types of dinosaurs we see. It's the Rex, the Raptors, and the Dilo.
And also the
Bronto and the Brachios. I think they're Brachios actually. They're Brontos. And then the Parasaurs. That's it.
The Parasaurs, yeah.
And then that's it. But those are herbivorous. They're not threats.
Yeah, they're not threats.
So in terms of threat level, those three are the main ones we see. Which is, I mean, obviously, you don't want too many creatures.
You want to keep it simple.
Exactly, and I think they did it well. So obviously the Rex was the big bad, in theory.
Well, the Rex did save them at the end.
Yeah, she does. The Rexy always, like the fans collectively call her Rexy. They always, she always seems to save them at a time when she shouldn't even be around. Like it happens in Jurassic World as well.
I think
Fallen Kingdom.
I think that's also why a lot of people didn't like it. Took such a disliking to Jurassic Park 3 and were so offended by it because the T-Rex loses that fight against the other dinosaur.
Against that Spino. Yeah, it gets wrecked. I know there was a huge sort of uproar about that because the Rex is like the unofficial mascot of the Jurassic Park franchise.
Yeah.
And then, within 10 minutes, wrecked by the Spino. But I think that was just to show you the Spino is not here to play.
I mean, I guess also like sort of the thing at the time, and then obviously I think in Jurassic World 1 they had to kind of sort of rectify that mistake. They said, okay, no, we cannot let the T-Rex cannot lose. The T-Rex has to win this fight.
But it was, when does Jurassic Park 3 takes place on Isla Sorna? Which is Site B.
It takes place on Site B.
So I don't think it's the same. It's not the same Rex. I don't think.
Yeah.
The one that gets wrecked, and then obviously the one in Jurassic World.
No, obviously not. Obviously it's not the same. Obviously it's not the same T-Rex or whatever. But what I meant was that the T-Rex the T-Rex dinosaur loses a fight, and then everyone was in an uproar. Then obviously Jurassic World had to correct that mistake.
I wanted to add because now we're at that part where the power goes down and the defenses are offline. You notice how they always said flashing lights and rain, they hint at chaos, and then that everything goes wrong as that storm arrives. That's also really cool.
That is a very cool.
Because it adds to the tension.
Yeah, this movie is just so well thought out on like every level.
On every level, yeah, but it's fun to just break it down.
Yeah, it is fun to break it down.
Uh,
Yeah, we were talking about the little cartoon
yeah.
intro that I quite like about the DNA code.
mhm.
I think that's a very fun way, because obviously this movie was, you know, made for families and for kids and everything. So this is a very fun. I think it's a very fun way to, you know, actually give exposition, actually explain. Because rather than just having a scientist explain it, like it's a fun.
It's a little creative
it's
element.
a creative element and fun way to explain it. And I also just love how the DNA character describes dinosaurs like dinosaur.
He's got a very thick southern accent.
Yeah, a southern accent. It's like
Southern
dinosaur.
Dinosaur. I don't know why he emphasizes it so much. It's just their thing, I guess. Mr. DNA is like he's been in Jurassic World as well.
Yeah. There was that little cameo Easter egg of Mr. DNA,
which is cool. I don't know if it's the same guy that voiced him. It was like 20-year gap.
Yeah.
Let's see. Going on. Where were we? We were talking about the T-Rex scene and how they cut it up. Well, they didn't cut it up, but they cut between different storylines. What do you think of Robert Muldoon, by the way?
Robert Muldoon?
He's that game warden.
Oh, yeah, the game warden character. Yeah, I think he's interesting. I like how he's got like a how he sort of admires the raptors, but he's also scared of them. Like he thinks they're the ultimate hunters, and I do kind of like that bit where like he's stalking that one raptor and he puts down his hat like sort of as a trap, and he sets up his shotgun. But then the raptor like comes up to the side to him, and he has a line of like, you know, clever girl.
That's actually an iconic film line.
It is an iconic line.
Clever girl. It was a meme for a long time before I understood what it meant. I was like, oh, okay, I get you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't know, I think the ending, I'm always, depending on which time I'm watching it, I'm always like, sometimes it goes on a little bit too much, the whole raptor sequence towards the end. But then also I'm like, this movie's not long enough.
Yeah.
So I can never decide. What's your take?
To me, it's a perfect runtime, and I never really feel bored or kind of exhausted by it or anything like that. I mean, because there are movies where I do feel exhausted, and I do feel like, you guys, you need to cut like 20 minutes out of this movie. You feel it when movies are dragging too long, but for me, Jurassic Park never drags on too long.
Never drags. Okay, I can accept that.
That's to me, it runs pretty much a perfect
perfect length.
perfect runtime.
I would agree with you. I know. That's why I said I think it's a real, the ideal runtime, but depending on how I am that day, sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe it's a bit too long. But I refuse to give in to that idea because it's my favorite film. So I'll be like, yeah, it's fine. I'll let it go.
Yeah.
Because I just love that film. I love more how they made it, like the practical approaches and the script, how they wrote it and approached it. That's what inspires me the most, and that's why it's my favorite film. Not just from a story and enjoyment aspect, but also from a creative and execution style.
No, it really is one of the best movies ever made.
Hands down. That's why it's my favorite.
Yeah, no one would argue with you on that.
No.
I think for me personally, it's definitely my favorite Spielberg film. I think this is probably like Jaws is my second favorite.
Yes, I love Jaws as well. You said last night he can't watch Jaws. He's too embarrassed by all the mistakes in that film.
Yeah. I heard once that apparently Steven Spielberg said that he can't rewatch Jurassic, because the thing is, Jaws is like his very first like real feature length film, and that was the first film to put him on the map. But he says he often can't rewatch Jaws because he says he like, whenever he watches it, he just remembers all the mistakes that he made and all the things that he's like, oh, if I just did this better or whatever. But I mean, that's the whole point of being a filmmaker. When you put out something there, you always look back on it and you always just go like, why did we make this mistake or whatever. I mean, like the thing is, when we make these episodes, there's already mistakes that I noticed, and I'm just like, oh, why did we do this? Like, if we just cut this out, we could have, like, it could have been perfect now.
I get you. Yeah, no, of course.
Because you rip your hair out in post. Yeah.
I totally get you. Can I ask, what do you think Dr. Malcolm's story arc was?
Dr. Malcolm's story arc?
Because he's there to sort of ask audiences questions, at least to me.
He's there kind of to just be like the audience's character. But he's also there to sort of be like the opposing force, the opposing idea to John Hammond's idea. Where like, he's very like, John Hammond sees like all the wonders and all the amazement and all the possibilities of this, whereas with John Malcolm is the more cautious one, saying like all the ideas and everything like that. But I think it's a great way because I think they sort of intellectually challenge the audience, and even for like a younger audience, they can sort of like pick up on it and go, yeah, that is true and everything.
They like both of them have valid stances.
Yeah.
Which creates not only tension but also contrast.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to try and dissect, but I think largely Dr. Malcolm is there as an audience voice. Not only, but large part of his character is that.
Is the audience's voice. That's kind of also why I like Jurassic Park: The Lost World, because that one we get a proper we get like a proper look at like Ian Malcolm's character, and we get to see him like as a main driving force and everything like that.
I was thinking last night. He said he has 3 children, but in Lost World we only ever encounter 1. Where are the other 2? Are they in storage? Are they charging?
Well, remember he says he has a lot of ex-wives. He's always looking for the next future Mrs. Ex Mrs. Malcolm.
That's true.
So he's probably got also the problem is weekends and everything. So he probably has like different weekends for each kid and everything like that.
It must be such a headache. I don't know how he stays so upbeat and happy with all that's going on, but it's just something I've noticed.
Yeah.
Do you want to basically the film ends where they just barely escape Jurassic Park, and the good people they go on to live another day, and then the bad people who didn't atone for their greed, they got wrecked. So like the lawyer,
except for Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Yeah, okay,
hold on to your butts.
Okay, he actually passed, but he had every intent of doing good on the park. He wasn't in it for greed or some personal gain. Yeah, I remember some trivia that you brought up when we did our original recording of this episode, where because the thing is, I remember in our original recording I complained about how his death is so like comes out of nowhere and it's so harmonious, it's so like weird and everything. But then you said to me that apparently they were shooting that in Hawaii or something, and then there was that storm. There was an actual like real storm, and the problem is their set blew away, so they couldn't actually do. Yeah, their set was destroyed. So they couldn't do like a proper death scene for him. That's why he dies off screen, which is quite cool. At least they covered that, but I don't know, I still like his death. I think the way they did it, working with what they had after their set was destroyed, was...
I mean, it's understandable. You kind of go like, okay, yeah, we can't really do much right now. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I don't know. I always thought about that because I always thought it was weird. She's like there, and then like the hand suddenly comes on. She's like, Mr. Arnold, and then like suddenly the arm comes. It's like a chewed up arm.
Yeah, I think it adds a little bit of a shock value. Yeah, because it is kind of gory compared to the lawyer's death. He also dies, but you don't see as much like blood or anything. You just hear it more after the initial bite. Yeah. You don't really see too much after that. So I think that one grounds you again, like, oh, these characters are actually vulnerable and in dangerous situations.
His death actually leads me to one of my favorite Alan Grant moments where when he first gets separated with the kids, and he tells the girls like stay, just stay here, I need to go help your brother. And then she says, he left us, referencing the lawyer. And then Alan Grant's just like, but that is not what I'm going to do.
Oh, yeah, that is actually cool. You're right.
That is a really cool character moment. Because, we actually, because we like to see our heroes actually be heroic and actually, do the selfless things. Even though that maybe, whatever, maybe it's not realistic. But at the end of the day, you want to see that. Because films are meant to be escapism. They're meant to be escapism from the world, but a lot of these, a lot of new films now that try to make it like more that approach it in a more cynical manner and say, no, our heroes, they wouldn't be real heroes, they just turn into grumpy old men or whatever. And I'm just like, sure, take the cynic approach and remove all of the escapism that movies are supposed to have.
Of course, I get your argument. It's nice to have like a sort of happy ending compared to a realistic one. Yeah, I think so. I had a nice point. Oh, what I wanted to say was during when everyone gets killed by their greed, except for Dr. Arnold. I think he's like is he a doctor? No, sorry, I'm adding doctor in front of too many names, but Mr. Arnold.
Yeah, Mr. Arnold.
Yeah, when when he is killed, he's the only one that was exempt from the whole greed story. But even Hammond, the investor, he sort of atones for his sins because yes, he did play God and he funded all of the creations.
But he does see his mistakes at the end.
Yeah, he acknowledges his mistakes. He even said like, I've decided not to endorse your park, and then Mr. Hammond is also like, so have I.
Yes.
And then he also looks out for people. Like he's not inherently looking for his own self-gain. He's acknowledging his mistakes, in which case he atoned, so he's exempt from being killed.
Yeah, I quite like your analysis of like the greed and everything, because I never looked at it that way, and it's an interesting perspective.
I just remembered covering it in a film theory class, and I thought that's actually kind of true, because I try to incorporate that in anything that I write. Usually, okay, Mr. Arnold is an example that you do get victims, but the people that don't end up changing their mindset and trying to atone for what they did, they get wrecked. Which is, I usually try, and if I watch something, I want to see how many other films incorporate that, which is cool. Did you never think of it like that?
No, I just never really thought. Well, I guess I sort of subconsciously thought about that. I was always just like, yeah, all the guys who are selfish and are just out for money, they're the ones who get killed. But I guess also like I never really thought about it on a deep level. But I think it's also because I've never actually sat down and actually like from a film theory perspective actually analyzed Jurassic Park. It's always been a movie, because I have analyzed movies in the past, but I've never actually analyzed Jurassic Park's never been one of them that I've analyzed.
I think like in my own time I'll sit down and go through it completely, because now it's hard to break down a film on too many deep levels for this episode, because we're obviously looking at other things like, okay, what did we learn, shots we fancied, stuff like that. But I want to just for once sit down and completely look at all the themes and deeper meanings of Jurassic Park in my own time.
Like a side film essay.
Yeah.
This video series we can do.
I would definitely do. I'd be the host of that. That sounds awesome.
yeah, that definitely would be awesome. And yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you really want to talk about?
I read once a sort of theory, I didn't read it. Sorry, I watched the review of how when the chopper comes through and they have to descend very quickly and land, that's sort of their own descent into like hell, symbolically.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was interesting, because that's the same way they escape, is they get that helicopter, and obviously they have to go out of the hole. You don't really see it, but they do have to ascend out of it again, which is interesting. I'm glad that this is Nublar. I think Isla Nublar is the one that Jurassic Park is on.
Yeah, it's because the two islands, Isla Nublar and Isla Sorna.
So I'm glad that they sort of have their own contained island, which makes sense from a containment standpoint. If anything ever did get out, they're limited and restricted to that island.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you had this, in New York, and then suddenly everything got out.
Well, that's for the sequel.
Yeah, that's for the sequel.
Well, that wasn't New York. It was San Francisco.
I think San Diego.
San Diego. There we go.
San Diego. I need to rewatch The Lost World. I love that film.
No, that movie is pretty good.
I think it's a bit darker.
It is a
little bit.
It is a little bit darker.
I think the cover actually reiterates that, because it's like that image, but it's overgrown and like cracked, and it's just cool. So yeah, they do eventually escape. Thankfully, both children, the 3 doctors, and then Mr. Hammond. And whoever the pilot was, that was just chilling there the whole movie.
Yeah, the pilot was just chilling there.
He was like, whatever, I'll wait for you. Yeah, I know it's coming.
Yeah. I think also one shot that I really actually enjoy in this film is the bit where they're driving away, when they're driving away from the T-Rex in the Jeep, and then there's that shot from the rear view mirror where you see the dinosaur chasing after them in the rear view mirror.
No, yeah, the side mirror.
And then a cool part about that is that they actually sort of pay homage to that in Toy Story 2.
With Rex.
Yeah, with Rex, where you see him like in the side mirror. That was pretty cool.
And it says the same objects in mirror closer than they appear.
Yeah, because I rewatched Toy Story 2 the other day, and me and my friend watched it, and we saw that part of it, like, oh yeah, that's cool.
That's a Jurassic Park reference, which is awesome. I'm glad they snuck that in. I didn't sneak it in, but it's cool.
Yeah, they're cool. They put that in.
I had another point now. That's actually one of my favorite shots in the whole film. That rear view mirror shot. I also like. I thought about it last night when the Rex gives up and the Jeep continues to drive away further from the camera car.
Yeah.
I like that shot as well. Like as a screenshot, it isn't that impressive, but if I play a little clip, I like that shot.
Yeah.
You know that scene where the Rex is after them and it hits that fallen tree stump or log, tree trunk, sorry, and it shatters it. You know that few frames took 10 hours to render.
Oh wow!
10 hours to render those few frames because of the technology limitations.
Yeah, 1990s tech.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool. Like the fact that they were like, no, we're gonna get this done. We're gonna render it.
We're gonna get it.
And it took overnight for those couple of frames, and I'm like, oh. God.
Yeah, except now when you render something, it takes like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, depending on the length, which is really fantastic. It just shows you the time and the limitations they had to work with, and yet they still achieved it.
Yeah,
which is great. You know that T-Rex, that animatronic, there was some sort of error with it. I don't know with the outer casing or with the electronics, but when they did the T-Rex scene, between takes they had to wait like half an hour because the water would make the Rex freak out and it would just shake randomly constantly like it was cold. And then they said that thing's not very scary, so they had to dry it off.
Yeah, it sort of plays into what I was saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the trivia where the dinosaur was like going down the
it's the same scene.
And it was like freaking out and all that type of thing.
Maybe it did have like water damage.
Yeah.
So maybe it became sentient.
Yeah.
Oh, this is iRobot level theories.
Yeah. Also like the final shot at the end when the T-Rex beats the two raptors and then it like roars, and then as the little ribbon of Jurassic Park comes down, like it's just a really cool shot.
The banner. Oh, is that a highlight shot for you?
Yeah, it's a highlight shot for me. Well, I don't know, a lot of the Jurassic Park films always have really cool T-Rex shots, like if we go to Jurassic World, like that shot, like they end on a shot of like the T-Rex roaring and it's looking out at Jurassic World and everything, and then Fallen Kingdom, even though that I hate that movie. That movie's an abomination. I still also love the shot in that movie where it's the male lion and the T-Rex roaring at each other.
Yeah, I don't know what that lion was thinking.
Yeah, that line's supper.
Yeah, that poor guy. He was like, hell no.
That lion walks up to the rock and he's just like, who the hell's this fool?
Who this fool? You're on the wrong side, boy.
Yeah, get out of my kingdom. Get out of my backyard.
I'm pretty sure that lion got wrecked. But
yeah, he got wrecked.
Trying to think of other. I suppose we can move on to shots we really liked.
Well, we were sort of already discussing.
We were there, sort of. So that's why I'm saying we might as well fully go there. Do you have? Because we were talking about you now. So do you have any shots that really stood out to you?
I think I also kind of like the running shot. One of my favorite scenes is a scene where the power obviously goes off and they're sitting in these jeeps now and it's raining. It's at night time and they're waiting for the power to come back on. And then the bit where the kids are like sort of the T-Rex is coming, the kids are like flashing a light. And then Ian and Alan both work to try and get the dinosaur away. And I like the shot with Ian Malcolm running with the flare and the T-Rex chasing after him. I really do love that shot. That shot's really cool.
That's quite an iconic scene.
And I remember the little joke that we made in our original recording where, like, you know, there's that one shot of Alan Grant holding the bottle out and then like he collects the rain and he closes the door and he takes a sip. And then we said, like, you know, how long did he actually have his arm out?
Dude, have you ever tried that? It takes a long time to fill up a bottle with rain.
Yeah, because I don't know how full it was, but it was full enough that both him and Ian were able to take a sip.
Yeah, he at least offered him a sip. Oh no, he did accept the sip.
Yeah, because he took a sip and then he gave it. We didn't see Ian drink it, but we did say Ian take the bottle.
Exactly, which means he probably had a sip. So, how long was like his arm must have been so buff after that?
Yeah.
He was holding it there for a long time.
But I just love the comedic moments. I love the bit where the lawyer like freaks out, like gets out, like runs all the way to the toilet, like hard, and then Ellen's like, you know, where the heck is he going? And then like Ian's just like, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah, and he died in one of the worst ways for a script to kill a guy.
Yeah, basically.
On the loo.
At least his pants weren't down.
Yeah, no, at least, but still. Shame, I feel bad for him, but not really, because he was the 10 grand a day.
Yeah.
Like, that's just greed, dude. I don't know what kind of commission that lawyer was getting, but clearly it was
like,
a lot.
And like the bit where they're talking about pricing, and then like, he says like, 6,000, 10,000, and they will pay it. And then John Hammond says, no, every person, everybody on this planet has a right to see Jurassic Park. Sure, we'll have a coupon day.
Yeah, like,
and I'm just like, oh.
He completely missed what Hammond was trying to say. And
yeah.
he was like, yeah, we'll have a coupon day.
Ugh, idiot. I'm glad that he died the way he... Okay, I mean, I know it's a horrible way to die, but still, like,
he kind of deserved it.
He was kind of asking for it.
In context of the script, he deserved it.
So yeah, do you want to talk about your one negative of this whole movie?
I do. I'll come back to that scene now. I just want to mention some of my favorite shots.
Okay, all right. I want to go to your favorite shots.
So... one of my favorite shots we already discussed, I'll just mention it again, is the mirror, the rear view mirror shot of the Rex.
Yeah, the one I mentioned. Yeah, that one's very cool.
Another shot that I really, really like, is quite an iconic screenshot of the film actually, is when Alan Grant first lights the flare and the Rex roars at him from the car in front.
Yeah.
That's quite an iconic scene, or shot. Another favorite shot of mine would be the frame in a frame of the kitchen window where the raptor breathes onto it. That's a favorite. When Robert Muldoon dies and you hear him screaming and the raptor just like blinks through the bush with that snake coming past.
Oh yeah,
That's a good shot.
Yeah, that's a good shot. Yeah, they do that a lot in the Jurassic Park movies. They'll cut away to something else. I think they did that. I think it did a little bit of that in Jurassic Park 2 and 3 as well, if I remember correctly.
I need to rewatch them. It's been a couple of months.
Yeah.
I mean, I rewatch them a lot because I love them. I always try and learn.
Jurassic Park is one of those movies you rewatch like every few months.
Yeah, it just is.
It's just so good.
And do I have any other highlight shots? Oh, I quite like the one where the Jeep pulls away from the camera car, as I mentioned. Just want to bring attention back to that. Also, when Ian Malcolm approaches that mud pile and he says his iconic line, the camera pans with him and slowly becomes a full body shot.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an awesome shot where like he's doing that slow walk.
And then he takes off his glasses and he's like, he says his line.
There's a big pile of...
yeah, that I really enjoy. That's a beautiful shot.
And there's also obviously the meme shot of him, like,
with the shirt open.
With the shirt open and him lying in sort of that OnlyFans pose.
Yeah, that is an iconic shot to Jurassic Park. And a meme. It's a meme template.
Yeah, it is a meme template, basically.
Other shots I really like. I'm trying to think... Oh, another shot I really like is when the kids are finally getting some food. And the raptor walks in and its shadow matches the drawing, the painting of the raptor.
Yeah, that's a perfect shot.
That's a good shot. I really like that. Also, just the kitchen scenes in general. The camera is very low eye level with the kids.
Yeah,
which just gives the raptors an interesting aesthetic.
Yeah, I just love that shot. Yeah, they play the shots up very well.
Another shot I like, because there's a lot, is...
a lot of shots.
Is the scene where the banner falls. It says dinosaurs rule the earth.
That's the one I mentioned earlier with the T-Rex roaring.
That's one of my favorite shots. Another shot I like is when the Rex bends down to look in the car and the torch hits its eye, and then the eye obviously...
Yeah, the eye does like that movement thing. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think also ones for me, like, okay, I mean, it's not really like, it's not like a shot that you make a desktop wallpaper or whatever, but I just love every time when the T-Rex is approaching, and then they always like, pan the camera down to like a glass of water or like a puddle of water or whatever, and then you get the...
Yeah, I wanted to say that actually, because...
You see those ripples in the water.
Exactly, because that happens with Ian Malcolm as well. When he's in the back of the Jeep after Dr. Sattler and Robert find him.
Yeah, that's how he knows the T-Rex is approaching.
Exactly, and it pans down to the footprint of the Rex with the water, and then pulls onto his face in the reflection. I really love that shot.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
That's a great shot. And there's another shot, one more I had. Now you made me forget it. Oh, I remember. It's right before the Rex, you see the head. Basically, when it munches the goat, that scene.
Yeah.
I like that shot as well, but also just before it, when it sort of puts its hand on the fence.
And you see the hand slip off the fence.
Off the cables.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That's one of my favorite shots. I think those would be definitely my main shots. There are plenty more because I love it, but if I remember them, I'll just add a compilation. Other than that, I think that would cover my shots. Takeaway? Any takeaways?
I guess just takeaways is just like, practical, try to balance practical and CGI. Don't just rely on CGI the entire time.
I think I argued that actually the first time we shot this episode.
Yeah. We sort of we brought up that point in our original recording as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just great approach to characters, great writing. Really sort of and I love this. I would like it. It's sort of like it asks these like intellectual questions, for a family movie, without being worried about boring the audience or anything like that. And also just very clever ways of doing exposition. I think that's also some of my takeaways from it.
No, that's a good set. My takeaways, I remember from our last episode, our first attempt rather. My first takeaway was do what a lot of classic movies do, and is take time to flesh out your world. That first hour, nothing happens with dinosaurs besides the opening scene, which is what I wanted to talk about. Anyway.
We did talk about that it actually takes a while. It takes a while before you actually see any dinosaurs.
But then to compensate for the wait, they have that opening scene with that guy that gets killed by the raptors. Shooter! It hooks you, and suddenly you sit down and you're invested.
Yeah.
Another takeaway, a large portion, is make exposition interesting. Don't have some dude burble boring exposition. Do what Spielberg did with the world when he had that little Mr. DNA video. That is brilliant exposition because it's engaging for the audience. You're like, oh, this is a cool little theme park ride type thing.
Yeah.
Another thing, same with what you said just now, is try to balance the use of CGI with animatronics, practicals. Don't just rely on CGI, especially in today's CGI-based world. Don't just do that. Another thingy I learned. Flesh out your characters.
Yeah.
There is no character there that's boring.
Yeah, none of the characters in this movie are boring. They're all interesting.
They're all there.
They're all interesting in their own way.
Exactly. And I did have another point. I keep forgetting because my mind is all over the place.
Even Samuel Jackson's character, Mr. Arnold, even he has a few iconic lines and everything when like hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. I did have. Hold on, let me think.
And the fact that Samuel Jackson was able to, when he's explain what Dennis did to the programs to Dr. Sadler and John Hammond, and he's got that cigarette in his mouth. He's like, given all this exposition, the cigarette never one stuck falls out of his mouth.
Well, remember, he was hired as a crack addict in his first role, so I suppose he's used to holding things in his mouth while he talks.
Well, yeah, obviously, I know Samuel Jackson can pull it off,
it's cool.
It's just something I noticed last night when we were watching it.
He always has a smoke, almost always. Fuck. I had such an interesting point now, and now it vanished. I guess I'll have to add.
Do you want to talk about that one negative you have, and then maybe if you remember this other point, you can bring it up later? Sure.
So the scene you're talking about is Dennis Nedry's death when he finds that Dilophosaurus.
Yeah.
And that scene in the book is a lot more gruesome, by the way, because that thing is 10 feet tall in the book. So that thing dwarfs him when it gets him in his car. He's like the way they describe it is really it makes you nauseous. So that scene they really made it more family friendly.
Yeah.
And but more importantly about that scene is that cartoon slip noise when he slips down the sort of incline as I think he's on his way to put the
yeah, I remember he's trying to get that hook around that tree or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the name. The winch. He's trying to get the winch around the tree so he can get his Jeep unstuck.
But he slips on the mud.
He slips on the mud, and the film has that banana slip noise. Yeah, that sound.
All right. So when we were talking about your one
My one gripe about that scene,
about that scene with Dennis.
I think that scene actually, what I said mostly came out, but I'll say it again. Basically, when he slips on the mud, they have this cartoon slip
Like
noise, and that really takes it out for me. If the movie was like an animation, I could accept that, of course, but in a sort of not a tense moment just yet, but it's a bit more tense than that, and that sound just shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it really ruins that scene for me.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about what they were probably thinking at the time, they probably wanted to make it comedic, and also because kids are watching this movie, they wanted to have a sound that kids would register with kids, that they would like sort of like know that ooh yeah,
It's kind of funny, of course.
yeah, but I do get with you because the thing is it is meant to be like a tense moment or whatever, and like when they add that sound in it, it does sort of mess with it a little bit.
A little bit. I just wanted to say, I have that shot where the car is shaking because he's being attacked. That's also a nice shot I like.
That is a nice shot.
But I'm worried that battery's gonna die. So should we just move on to like overall ratings, recommendations?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can move on to that.
Okay. So how would you rate it? Because we all know what I'm gonna say. Because I'm the chilled one.
So, I think. If I remember correctly, I think didn't we both give it like a 10 out of 10 or something?
Careful what you say. Okay, yeah, no, on a genuine.
A genuine, yeah, probably like a realistic rating, probably like a 9 out of 10. Perfect movie.
Yeah, hands down. For me, obviously, 10.
10.
Yeah, in my favorite, I have to be biased. Even though I really don't like that sound, it's not enough to ruin overall.
I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be angry writing in the comments like, how dare you give Jurassic Park a classic a 10 out of 10? They're probably like, if you gave it a low score, then they would riot. But
of course,
you give it a 10 out of 10, no one's really gonna bat an eye at that.
No, of course, but for me, a 10 because it's my favorite film. Personal enjoyment, everything is maximum.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, pretty much everybody listening to, or watching or listening to this podcast probably have already seen it. But I mean, if you haven't, Jurassic Park is a classic.
You have to go see it. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, unless do you really have much else to say?
I have plenty to say, but that battery's gonna die, so maybe I'll make like an extended cut of my own solo rants or editions. If anyone wants to see a solo cut of me just going on about what I really enjoy about the film, because I can talk for a lot longer, then please let me know. I will gladly do a solo episode for you guys. Otherwise, I am done.
But yeah, thanks very much for watching and listening, guys. Well, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments. Or if you're an audio listener, please write us a review and give us any feedback or any improvements you think we could make. But yeah, this is Cinema Suitcase, and thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.